So Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans came into this season riding a high, thinking that the world was at their feet and that they had an incredible shot at making the college football playoffs. Fast forward to now, and those hopes are all but gone, and it's off the backs of something I have been worried about for USC for quite some time. In fact, after the first game, I made a video pointing out that it was still an issue, and of course, we're talking about the defense. But as we sit here, I have to wonder, is the defense the only issue with USC? And this is a discussion we have got to have. Before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe the defense is the only issue with the Trojans? Let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And in order for us to start this off, I want to do a little bit of a callback, because during USC's first game, I was sitting here wondering, what does it take to win a national championship from a defensive perspective? How complete of a team do you need to be? Because to my knowledge, since I've been watching college football, I can't really point you to a team that was completely one-dimensional that's been able to get the job done. So I started doing some digging, and what I found was astounding. The worst scoring defense to win a national championship was the 2010 Auburn Tigers, and they ranked as the 54th scoring defense in the nation. To put into perspective, USC finished last year at like 97 in the nation. So there was a lot of work that needed to be done. And I questioned whether or not Alex Grinch was the guy to do it. And the reason was simple. Because time and time again, we have yet to see Alex Grinch put together a coherent defense since he did it at Washington State. And there have been several stops since Washington State. We can talk about the experience at Ohio State, where he inherited a top defense. That defense ended up tanking, and when he left, the defense was once again a top defense. We can talk about the years at Oklahoma, where Oklahoma fans continually wanted that defense to get better. However, as Alex Grinch continued to try the same things, they continued to get analogous results. That defense never became the formidable unit so many would have hoped, and now we fast forward to USC, where Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch are once again operating under the premise that in order to get different results, you don't have to change a thing. You can keep going about your daily routine the exact same way, and somehow, some way, different results will fall in your lap. It brings me back to the quote. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And this is where we talk with USC. Because with USC, everybody knew that the defense was going to be an issue. We've talked about this time and time again on this channel, and I have wondered whether or not Alex Grinch would be there after this season. As we sit here right now, I would be shocked if Alex Grinch was the defensive coordinator heading into the Big Ten, because we've seen him run a defense in the Big Ten, and it didn't go well. But as I sit here, I have to now concede, I don't think that Alex Grinch is the only problem. Not to say that he isn't a problem. I mean, for goodness gracious, he just gave an interview after the Utah loss saying, yeah, one of the things that killed us is we didn't know that they were going to run the wheel route the way they did. We didn't prepare for that. We didn't see it on film. My jaw hit the ground because he didn't say, hey, this exotic concept that they ran, we didn't see that on film. If Utah would have pulled out some exotic concept, because let's be honest, these coaches keep something in their back pocket. We've seen them pull a rabbit out the hat before. That's not what a wheel route is. You can go to your local YMCA or your local high school and see a wheel route. If you're tricked by a wheel route, that's something. But I went back and watched that play, and the major issue there is that he asked a true freshman defensive end to guard a running back out the backfield. That's just a mismatch. No matter what, even if it was a Texas route, even if it was just a route in the flat, it didn't have to be a wheel route. If the running back floated out of the backfield, you were going to be in trouble based on the matchup. And this is where we have to take the conversation. Because whenever we talk about the Alex Grinch defense, there are some aspects of it that you can point to in the national stat category, such as tackles for loss, such as interceptions, and say, oh, but isn't the defense doing well? They may be doing well at those very narrow categories, but in totality, no. The defense isn't doing well. Time and time again, we see the Alex Grinch defense actually stunt out of gaps and allow for major rushing attack lanes to be had. Because the linebackers and the defensive ends and the defensive linemen are stunting exactly out of the gap where the running back is going to push to, so that when the running back gets there, there's nobody there. So there's no question that defense is a major problem for the Trojans, but these past 2 games, offense has been a problem as well. Personally, I think Caleb Williams is playing a little bit of desperation football right now, and let me please unpack that, because I am in no way, shape, or form saying Caleb Williams is a desperate quarterback. What I mean is, whether subconsciously or consciously, Caleb realizes the fact that if he doesn't go take the win for USC, there will be no win to be had. I understand we've all thought of Lincoln Riley, and he is a brilliant offensive coach, but you would think with all the weapons on that USC team, they would find more ways to win than just through Caleb Williams. Up to this point, I have not yet seen it. If Caleb Williams doesn't singularly go win the game, it's not happening. They're not going to win. And we've seen that. And they have a tough schedule in front of them. So we need to now call back and answer a question I posed to all of you. Is the defense the only problem with USC? While I contend that the defense is a major problem with USC, this is where I think we need to have a conversation, because I don't think it's the only problem. USC is getting bullied every time they step on a football field when they play a Power 5 opponent. When they play an opponent with a pulse, they tend to get bullied at the line of scrimmage. So your strength and conditioning program isn't doing its job in the manner you'd want. There's another problem. It's hard to be successful as an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, or a head coach if your strength and conditioning program is consistently losing to the other team's strength and conditioning program. And that's where USC sits. Furthermore, when USC goes to the Big Ten, I have a major question about the way Lincoln Riley chooses to recruit. Because Lincoln Riley can recruit very well, but he doesn't take big classes. OU fans talked about this all the time. He'll take a class with 16, 17 guys and then utilize the transfer portal. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying that's wrong, but whenever we look at who we will be recruiting against in the Big Ten, those teams can get top 10 classes and then stack transfer portal acquisitions on top of it. Whenever you're talking about recruiting against schools in the Big Ten, you're talking about recruiting against Ohio State that will sign a top 5 class and still has their pick of the litter out the transfer portal. So this isn't something just unique to USC and Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley is not the only coach out there utilizing the transfer portal. The difference is that coaches such as Nick Saban have signed a top 10 class and then backed it up with a top 10 class in transfer portal acquisitions as well. You're now recruiting against schools that get the pick of the litter in the transfer portal, as well as get the pick of the litter in recruiting. And so if you have to go up against Ohio State every year and they can nab a top 5 class with 25 prospects, then go in the transfer portal, only take 6 or 7, but they get the pick of the litter in their 6 or 7, it's going to be hard to beat them if you're only taking classes of 15, 16, 17 guys and then relying on the transfer portal. Because you can get great players out the transfer portal. Let's understand that. You can get great players out the transfer portal. But the problem is they're going to be doing the same thing you're doing. The difference is they're doing the recruiting at a higher level than you're doing it. They're still getting great additions out the transfer portal. They're also nabbing a top 10 recruiting class. And when you look at the Big Ten, if USC was in the Big Ten right now, they would be the number 5 recruiting class in the Big Ten. If you can't win the Pac-12 as USC, and now you have to go against Oregon and Washington, who, by the way, those are going to be tough outs this year. So now you still have to compete against Oregon and Washington, but now you have major brands like Michigan, like Ohio State and Penn State added in there. USC's future just got a lot more difficult, and USC is doing themselves no favors. Because as we sit here and talk, they have a team that is ran completely through their unbelievable quarterback, and Caleb Williams is unbelievable. But you want to know the problem with that? Caleb might not be there next year. In fact, I believe Caleb will head to the NFL draft because I think he'll be the number 1 quarterback off the board. How are you going to win games when Superman is no longer there? This is a question I am really interested in seeing, and we do need to be fair. Lincoln has recruited unbelievable quarterbacks behind Caleb Williams, but Caleb is special. Caleb doesn't grow on trees. And unfortunately, Lincoln Riley has had a few Caleb Williams and no playoff wins to show for it. So something has to change. And quarterback play, that ain't it. Can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about the problems we're seeing at USC, because I have bad news for USC fans. That schedule that remains, it's brutal. You got some real talented teams in front of you. And if you had trouble stopping Notre Dame's offense, if you couldn't stop Utah's offense when half their starting team is out, good luck against Penix and good luck against Bo Nix. Because both those teams played defense pretty well too. And they score at will. So this is going to be really interesting to see what moves Lincoln Riley makes, what moves USC makes, because there's a lot of rumblings right now, and Lincoln hasn't even been available at practice. So this is a story we're going to have to keep up with. That's it. See ya.